Auzubillahiminashaitanirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Ji ayanu, pakhair agale, ni hao, chunushumbe, washmale. Ohai gonzaimas, guten morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal? Hale shuma chatore, ahlan wasal, marhaba. Buna, mucho gracias, swabi, ab bhalli kare aaya. Hosh ke alden, na sayo, khoya mora. Chi bato, chi hajot, kali mera khairutan. And a very warm welcome to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and are watching World this morning. Alongside my very well-learned colleague who happens to be Miss Hajra Satti. I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan, and we hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your Wednesday with us. But first things first, hello Hajra, assalamu alaikum. How are you feeling today?
Walaikum assalam. Thank you so much, Jazakallah khair, for introducing me. So there's a good news on the horizon, and that is that in Lahore, the sun has started basking in its glory. Sun is visible and the darker skies has receded. So the air quality in the Lahore continues to be improved as the city's AQI after several weeks stayed below 300. The city's AQI is around 230. The highest AQI 320 was recorded in Gulbarg too. Air quality improved in other cities as well, with Multan recording 189, Faisalabad 157, Gujranwala 174 and Rawalpindi 140, while KPK's capital Peshawar was recorded at 158. Certainly, I think we have our own tradition where we enjoy the sun in the winters, and that too with the muphalliyan and with the malte and oranges, what do you call it, right? And the smog was trying to steal this tradition from us, but we did not allow it, right? So it's a good news.
Exactly, and not just that, I think in addition to this, just yesterday, because the sun was basking away in Islamabad as well, so I went onto my fields, you know, to kind of take out whatever vegetables have grown already.
Right.
So I came across a shaljam. But I couldn't really, so my daughter kept on asking, what do we call shaljam in English? And I was like, okay, I'll check and then let you know. Is there anybody who can actually tell me what do we call shaljam in English?
Why didn't you Google it, darling?
I never got the chance, but I guess I'm going to do that. But unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, I think at this point of time, what we really need to do is that we really need to pay rich tribute to all of those heroes who've actually helped us shape our identity, which is why today the death anniversary of legendary poet Faiz Ahmed Faiz is being observed. The death anniversary of the influential, intellectual and revolutionary poet and one of the most highly regarded poets of the Urdu language, Faiz Ahmed Faiz is being observed today. He was born in Sialkot in February 13th, 1911. Faiz Ahmed's literary work was publicly honored when the Pakistan government conferred upon him the nation's highest civil award, Nishan-e-Imtiaz, in 1990. He was the first Asian poet to receive the Lenin Peace Prize awarded by the Soviet Union in 1962. In 1976, he was awarded the Lotus Prize for Literature. His notable works include Naqsh-e-Faryadi, Dast-e-Saba and Zindan-Nama. Faiz Ahmed had also worked as editor of Mahnama Adab-e-Latif and became a lecturer in English at Mayo College, Amritsar in 1935 and then at Haley College of Commerce, Lahore.
Right, and that's very interesting that how Faiz Ahmed Faiz's legacy is deeply intertwined with Pakistan's literary landscape. And once again, so we are going to talk about something very interesting, and that relates to how in the 40s and the 50s, because a woman's life is deeply embedded and rooted with the life of everyone around her. So maybe her parents, maybe her husband, her children, and especially when she is at that age, so as a mother, as a wife, she is going through a lot. And not just a mother as a wife, but in an individual capacity too. So we are going to talk about the perimenopause phase and the menopausal blue which a woman experiences, and especially in the South Asia there's a lot of conversation around, you know, because at this stage a lot of women are not even aware that they feel in our Urdu lexicon more jhagralu. So what does that jhagralu means, and because of that behavior it impacts the life of everyone around her. So how to manage this phase better and how to deal with the menopause blues. We are very glad that we have been joined by all the way from the UK by a very non-traditional grandma, I would like to say, because she's very active. She's a fitness enthusiast. She's actively engaged in activities, in lifestyle changes, and she is talking about this subject and dealing with it. We are very glad that we have been joined by Sahir Ahmed. She happens to be the menopause health expert. Assalamu alaikum, Ms. Sahir, and thank you so much for joining us.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for having me.
Right, so we will start by, please explain what is a menopausal blues, especially for the people who don't know out there, and what are the symptoms and how to deal with it.
Okay, so menopause is a transition in a woman's life that she will approach around the age of 45 to 55. It varies in all women. And it's the beginning of the post-reproductive years of her life, so where she can no longer have children. But it doesn't just affect her reproductive system, it affects her whole body, her emotions, her mental state. The decline in hormones really does have a profound effect on how a woman feels, her energy levels, her brain function, her mood, her sleep, her stress management, just about it impacts just about everything in her. And there is one thing that you just mentioned in how she feels emotionally. So menorage is something that's very common amongst women where they can't understand their own emotions, how they're feeling. So how they react. Their reactions can be very quick. Their anger can be very quick. Now, this is not from the fault of the woman at all. It is the disruption in the hormones that plays a huge part in this. And it affects how she feels about herself and how she feels towards others. And I think it kind of needs hugely addressing so that women can learn to manage it better.
Right, Ms. Sahir, how do you believe in a very ageist, in a very youth-oriented culture, does a woman's menopause, menopausal blues, what are the experiences, especially in this culture in which we are living?
Their personal experiences is their interactions with those around them, not just those around them, with herself. First of all, a woman's relationship is with herself, right? So how she feels about herself, a loss of confidence, a loss of sense of self, a loss of connection, not understanding why she is feeling such a way. So having education around this and knowing how the menopause can really affect her emotions, her physical, mental state, her emotional state, that is the most important thing, because if we can understand something, we can deal with it so much better. And then also educating those around us, our spouses, our families, our communities, our workplaces. We need more education to enable us to manage this time, because how we manage this time makes a huge difference. Having the right mindset around it makes a huge difference.
That's exactly what I would want to ask about now. Imagine that in our part of the world, there's hardly anyone aware of this impact that they're going to have at that point of, whatever years they are old, so because it's going to vary from individual to individual. How do you think, first of all, women should actually be more aware of how, there'll be an emotional disruption? If in that case, is it only emotional disruption, or do you think that there can be emotional comfort too as well? So what are the most of the experiences which women would feel going through that phase of their life?
Their emotions can be, not everyone, but the majority of women have a huge disruption to their emotions, because you have to understand everything in a woman's body is controlled by her hormones. So when the hormones start to fluctuate, which they fluctuate highly at the beginning, and then there is a decline, which is postmenopause, it affects those emotions greatly. And you can vary from sort of hour to hour. You can have such joy 1 hour, and then you can be in tears and depressed the next hour. It is quite profound changes. And firstly, understanding this within yourself and connecting to that and knowing that that happens just makes a huge difference. And then learning how to manage it. What can we do in our day-to-day lifestyle that can help those feelings and can help balance out those
So what can
feelings?
we do?
We can really focus on our lifestyle. So we have so many practices within us that we can do. So lifestyle management is so highly underestimated that it's shocking. But my first and foremost thing would be to say exercise. Now, I know I'm a fitness professional, but exercise has been proven to reduce anxiety and depression and to help with symptoms of menopause. And it will help with physical symptoms, emotional and mental symptoms. So, brain fog, mood issues, sleep, stress management, they will all be benefited by daily exercise in a woman's life, and not just in this phase. If we can have a good background before we reach this phase, if we start before, it's much better. But if we haven't, it's never too late to implement those lifestyle changes.
All right.
Right. And Ms. Sahir, so there are lots of conversations which are happening at the global scale, which are talking about the perimenopausal state and the menopausal state. But I think there's a darker side to it, and that preys on our needs, and that is also fueled by the wellness industry, about this beauty industry, which says that the women have to do everything right, and women have to do everything at all, right? How do you think we can deal with this pressure, the pressure which is induced by the wellness industry and I would say the beauty industries? You know, you need to do, get this cream, you need to get this stuff out there in order to look more beautiful, because you are grappling with bodily changes, right? There are also physical changes which are happening within you in that phase.
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, these kind of things sell. They create marketing, and it does just, it's kind of uses that to get women to think they have to have this cream, they have to do this in the morning, this in the evening, this in and it just is confusing. And the whole market has become very confusing. Social media has become very confusing. I think we just need to strip it back quite a lot and make it much more simpler. There is a few key pillars I suggest to my clients and women to use, and that is to focus on exercise, nutrition, sleep, stress management, a positive mindset, and possibly helping yourself with some supplements. To do this with the guidance of like a health professional or a wellness professional, and just make it as simple as you can, because it can be quite complicated how you feel in yourself. And if we try and think we need to be doing a million things, we just lead to overwhelm, frustration, and then we don't want to do anything.
And that's exactly, you know, what is actually challenging for them, you know, for any women who's actually going through that phase of life, for them to control their emotions, be that one person which everybody in their household actually wants them to be. How do you think that, you know, people who surround that lady within that particular household needs to behave when they know? Because over here, unfortunately, what happens is that nobody speaks about it, nobody tells anybody, okay, what phase of life that they're going through. So how do you think that people who are related to her need to understand? Because nobody's going to speak about it. So, you know, I mean, I cannot go up to my mother and be like, you know, if you're going through menopause, you know, I need to behave a certain way, unfortunately.
And
how do you think things need to be?
Women themselves are not even aware that they are going through this phase and this is what is happening with them. So self-awareness is not there, unfortunately, in this part of the world.
For anyone.
Yeah, and you know, to be honest, it's not just even in, as you say, in the South Asian parts of the world. It's only about five years that this discussion has been mainstream even in the Western community, and we're still every day discussing it. It's a huge topic, and I think the key word is education, and we need to start educating and discussing at a much earlier stage. You know, so they should be taught to girls and boys at a younger age, because if they have that knowledge, then they can use that knowledge as they get older. But if it hasn't, you know, happened at a younger age, we just start talking about it. Education is key. And we have discussion. Then we have support. We need to find a support network amongst women. So I know it's a topic. Any women's health issues is very much a tender topic in our society, in our South Asian society. But we have to break past that taboo and stigma. It's the only way to break past it and realize that it's just like any other health issue. I mean, I compare it to things like diabetes, headache, heart disease. We talk about those things, don't we? Well, this is just another health issue, and it's going to happen to every woman. Whereas not every woman may have heart disease or diabetes, but they will go through menopause. So we need to open up the discussion so that we can enable a support system in our families.
And we have done that already. Thank you so much, Ms. Sahir, for being with us. Lovely to be in conversation with you. Thank you so much for your time. It must be really early in England right now because they're 5 hours behind. So thank you so much for your effort. We've opened up this discussion, and we hope and pray that everybody who's watching us right now, you know, as of today, will actually speak about these issues within their own household. At this point of time, we need to head out towards a short break. Once you guys will come back, I think what we need to do is
right. So I don't think so. We need break. Yeah, we are energetic and we really want to continue our show. So in a very interesting development, so there's archaeologists who have found 4,000-year-old bronze Age town in the Saudi Arabia. So archaeologists have discovered a 4,000-year-old fortified Bronze Age town hidden in the Khyber Oasis in the northwest Saudi Arabia. The town named Al-Nata dates back to around 2400 BC and displays early signs of social structure and urban planning. According to a study published in a journal, the town was inhabited by 500 people. Satellite imagery of the Al-Nata reveals house foundations and pathways that hint at advanced planning. And I think everything is such a beautifully wrapped up in Allah's plan of the greater scheme of things, that you understand and you know that all the temporal authorities, they are fleeting, and all of this land inhabited greater civilizations, but they are no more.
Exactly, and which is why I think in addition to this, we have wonderful news for each and every one of you who's out there, because from KSA, I'm going to bring you to Pakistan, because, you know, ladies and gentlemen, imagine that there's this huge program which has been initiated, and it was founded by the Korean government as well. You know, the gentleman's over here, he'll be speaking about it. So Pakistan and Korea are coming together for the Gandhara culture heritage, because imagine that the excavation of Mankiala Stupa is taking place. What is it? What's the background? What's the entire program? Now imagine nobody ever heard the word digitalization of the Gandhara culture heritage. I think that's something that we really need to speak about in today's life and world. So to kind of discuss this, we're very lucky that we've been joined with two gentlemen who are at the forefront of it. First up, the Senior Consultant, Korea Heritage Agency, Dr. Mahmood Hassan Saab. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Good morning. How are you?
Wa alaikum salam.
Thank you so much for joining us. Wonderful to have you over here, and alongside him, we're very lucky that we've been joined by a researcher all the way from Korean Heritage Agency, and he happens to be Mr. Jeon Bumhwan. Thank you so much for joining us. Wonderful to have you over here.
Thank you. Thank you for
Right.
having me.
And let's kickstart our conversation. So, Dr. Saab, please tell us about what is the mystery, what is the air of the mystery, I would say, behind the Mankiala Stupa. Please tell us the story.
Thank you very much. Mankiala Stupa is one of the largest Buddhist religious establishment near Rawat in Rawalpindi district. So, this stupa derived its name from the nearby historic town of Mankiala. That town, it is according to some historical sources and numismatic evidence, that town was founded by a ruler whose name was Manigal, and he was ruling this area around 1st century BC. And it is also said that this stupa was also constructed by Manigal himself. However, there are many Buddhist legends are associated with this stupa, and the famous Chinese monk Hyun-sang, who visited this stupa in around 7th century AD, he mentioned it as a blood and body offering stupa. Because in Buddhism, they believe in the rebirth or incarnation. So, according to the traditions, Sakyamuni Buddha, before coming in this world as a Buddha or the enlightened one, he came in this world for 550 times as a Bodhisattva to learn the knowledge of this world and also give some moral lesson to the people. So, one of his previous births, he was living in this area as a prince. So, at the place where now this stupa is built, he saw a starving lioness and offered his blood and body to save her life. So, after that episode, Ashoka the Great established this stupa to commemorate this event. So, Hyun-sang tells us that there were 100 Buddhist shrines around this stupa, and it is about in 5 kilometers. There are also many remains of that shrines. So, at that time, the Buddhist monks were living here, and all the shrines were adorned with the Buddhist images, and hundreds of Buddhist monks wearing orange robes were roaming around this area. So, that was in around the 1st century AD period.
Right, right. And Mr. Jeon, now let's move the conversation to you. Since you came here from the Korea, do you feel that we share the same architectural heritage or archaeological sites within Pakistan and Korea, because we share the same civilization, you know, dating back to thousands of years ago?
Yeah, actually, in Korea also there are a lot of Buddhists, and Buddhism is one of the most important religion in Korea. And as we studied Gandhara cultural heritage, the Buddhism is linked with Pakistan and Korea.
Yep.
Also, we found some stupa, and in the surface of stupa, we also can see the carving of the body suffering from Buddha. So that's why we are very interested in the point site of Mankiala. So we decide to discuss with the Department of Archaeology Museum. So we decide to excavate the area. For unfortunately, we don't have enough time for just to be focused on the find some structure evidence in north stairs of the stupa.
All right, well, that's wonderful. And while we are at it, I think the most interesting question over here is, because this program or this project was founded by the Korean people as well themselves, why do you, and first of all, take us through the entire project, because this is one bit of the project where the excavation of the stupa is taking place. There's digitalization of the Gandhara culture and civilization. What's more to it?
Actually, from 2021, South Korea and Pakistan engaged on the project in cultural heritage field. From 2021, we have main two goals about this project. The one is to make a facility for study more deeply about the Gandhara cultural heritage, and the second one is digitalization and documentation about the Gandhara cultural heritage.
What do we mean when we say digitalization of the Gandhara?
Because I can say about the Gandhara cultural heritage research, there are a lot of books and a lot of research.
Literature, yeah.
Yeah, but it was very old, and we need to
update it.
Update and with the digital technology. And we conducted a lot of research in Gandhara cultural heritage, and we use the drone and GPS system and some kind of modern program, and we make a plan and drawing new one, and we all gather after we gather
So
all
the entire
information.
architecture bit of it will be digitalized. And we'll be able to look at it in 3D maps.
Yeah,
Right.
that
Wow.
kind of thing. And after that, the Department of Archaeology Museums, it's easy to control and management that kind of cultural heritage.
And what sparked your interest in the Gandhara civilization, if you don't mind me asking that?
Gandhara cultural heritage is known as art. Just a sculpture and statue and everything. But I don't think it is only for art and structure. The site is very beautiful and wonderful.
And do you think in days to come, because we do have a lot of religious tourism as well, and if you are to speak about Buddhists, do you think that such excavations can actually bring us to a part where we will have a lot of Buddhists for now visiting these sites as well, because they might be very holy to them?
Yeah, that is the one of our project impact. We expect that kind of impact. If we research more and we develop the site, maybe it can be possible to come to the foreigner to the site, and it is going to be attractive. I think there are so many attractive sites in Pakistan, but I cannot believe there is only 6 heritage was inscribed at UNESCO World Heritage. I cannot believe that. So if even though this project is only for 5 years, it can be possible to manage the Pakistan government to improve and to promote their heritage to the world.
And that's exactly what I wanted to ask Dr. Saab over here as well. So Dr. Saab, when we speak about the excavation of the stupa or any other excavation which takes place, what happens when you excavate that particular thing? Where does it go and what happens with them? I think that's something that we really need to kind of touch upon over here.
And Dr. Saab, I would like to ask you a very interesting question, because the research says that the archaeologists reveal steps leading into a meditation cell. What does that mean? It's very exciting for me to listen to it. Please explain.
Okay. Actually, when we conduct archaeological excavation,
Right.
we have some questions to solve.
Yeah.
Okay.
And where there we don't
First of all,
have
what's that question, sir? Please.
so
Yeah.
Mysteries to
Yeah.
mystery,
unsolve. Yeah.
it means that some ancient site.
Yeah.
So what happened at that time? Because we don't have literary resources,
Yeah.
so we have to conduct archaeological excavations, and through material remains, we investigate that what happened at that time and at what period that site belongs.
Okay.
So at Mankiala Stupa, we conducted excavation because there were many questions to solve. One was that in this our region, the northern Pakistan, it was famous for the Buddhist art of Gandhara
Right.
from 1st century AD to 5th century AD.
Right.
So during that time, there were hundreds of Buddhist monasteries and
Right.
stupas were established in this area,
Right.
and eventually due to foreign invasion and many other
Yeah.
factors, these were destroyed.
Right.
So from the last destruction was around 5th century AD. So what happened on that side from 5th century AD and up to the present day? So in order to search the history of that site, we conduct excavation. So at Mankiala Stupa, we had some record from the British period.
Okay.
They recovered some coins from the stupa. They belong to the 1st century AD, and then to 4th century, and finally to the 8th century.
Right. Right.
So it means the stupa remained in occupation from 1st century up to the 8th century.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
But we know that in the 5th century, Buddhism was declined in this area,
Right. Right.
and then why it was again renovated in the 8th century.
Right. Right.
So for that question, we started excavations. The purpose was to train our young students also.
Yes.
So anyhow, we started excavation, and we from the excavations we
Right.
came to know that in 5th century the site was abandoned,
Okay.
and then some people came here and they established their small village there.
All right.
And after that, in the 8th century, that village was destroyed,
Okay.
and again that stupa was renovated, and the Buddhist practices were started in that, and that remained up to around end of the 9th century. After that, the stupa was again abandoned. So these were the some questions to solve. We conducted excavation. So
Right.
now to the meditation cells. So in stupa architecture,
Right.
we know that one is the stupa is the main building
Right.
which is venerated by the Buddhist monks.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And they have the circumambulation all around the stupa,
Right.
and all around that stupa there are meditation cells.
Okay.
Yeah. And some
which,
chambers as well.
we call it the monastic cells,
Okay.
Okay.
because monks sat there in meditation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So usually all stupas have one monastery.
Okay.
So these are small cell, cubical cells for one person. So these are called cells, and there are also chapels for placing images. So this is the all related to the stupa.
And that's
architecture.
exactly what I remember now, because I do remember reading a book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. I don't know if how many people remember it, but it was wonderful to have you here, Dr. Saab.
Thank
you
so
so much,
much.
Mr. John Bumhwan,
Thank you
for
so
being with
much.
us. Lovely to be in conversation
Thank
with
you.
you.
Thank you.
And we hope and pray that such excavations and joint partnerships made with the Korean ODA as well, and I think the Pakistani government will help us, to kind of research and solve all such mysteries as well, and that these sites will become an attraction for all of those visitors who are willing to come to Pakistan
Absolutely.
for maybe religious tourism, maybe just tourism, maybe food, maybe anything. So I think there's one more site, ladies and gentlemen, we've worked on. We're heading out towards a short break. Once you guys will come back, since we were in conversation with adults, let's be in conversation with adults after the break, but about the young guns of the country. After a short break, don't go anywhere, we'll be right back.
Good morning. And before going on to the break, Shahzad alluded to the kind of conversation that we are interested in developing. So today happens to be World Children Day, and what does that day entail? We will unfold the conversation, but before that we have an interesting package. Let's go and take a look at it.
World Children's Day, or Universal Children's Day, celebrates the youngest member of a human community on November 20th. The day promotes international togetherness and awareness among children worldwide. This year, the theme of World Children's Day is For Every Child, Every Right. It focuses on access to fundamental rights of a child growing up. Nutrition, education, healthcare, protection, and safe environment provides a healthy brought up to a child, which adds to the future of the world. Children are the most fragile element of any society, as they are constantly learning from their surroundings, and they need special care to be modeled and shaped. Self-expression, freedom of mind and thoughts, and the freedom to speak up and share is of extreme importance for children, as they can better express the challenges they face in this new world, and they are able to identify the needs according to those challenges. It is our job to listen and to provide the platforms that fulfill those needs. Young people, parents, teachers, businesses, and governments are all the primary stakeholders in making the future of a child. It is their job to identify vulnerabilities of children who are underprivileged and marginalized, and this day ensures to advocate and to promote the inclusion and equal opportunities for them. On this day, we encourage people, governments, and organizations to listen to children as they fight for their rights. Please respect their voice and take actions to improve the lives of children. Only they can get us a bright future. Please stand up for the rights of a child and give them platforms to grow, learn, play, develop, and flourish with dignity.
Right, and that is why I think we need to have these conversations, fostering conversations with the younger ones, that what sort of life they want to be and how we can guide them, not to see them as, you know, just an extension of yourself, but to see them as an individual beings out there. How can we foster and develop this conversation on this Children's Day? We are very glad that we have been joined by someone from the UNICEF. She is Fahmida Iqbal Khan, Gender and Development Specialist. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Walaikum salam.
So the theme this year is Listen to the Future, Stand Up for Children's Right, and it's more about listening to them, you know, how they want to express and how they want to spend their lives. Please go ahead, take us through.
So thank you so very much, Shahzad. First of all, let me just thanks to the PTV world because for having me us. The thing is, when it comes to this remarkable day, this day is full of promises. This day really reminds us of all the dreams and the potential that the children have. In 1989, something remarkable happened where all the leaders came together and they made a commitment that they will protect the rights of every child. And that is where the legal framework came upon, which is called United Nations Convention on the Rights of Child. And it has, 54 articles. Now, the 42 articles are primarily focusing on the child right, whereas the rest of the articles were primarily focusing by the adults, for the adults to take certain actions which can protect and promote these.
And what are those actions?
Well, these are the rights to equitable access to clean drinking water, to health, to education,
basic
to
rights,
pay. Exactly, to pay. Absolutely. So this is where, and today's theme, listen to the future. The question is that, the first quarter of this century has passed, almost, right? Are we really ready for the next quarter, which is like by 2050? What world are we really looking at for our children that are coming up?
Full of smog, probably no clean drinking water.
There you
probably a lot of challenges which they will be facing ahead, electricity shortage, no sewage pipelines, no quality life, artificial intelligence. There's so many risks these days.
So today, the status of the World Children Report has been launched. And the issues that you have highlighted, they have done this futuristic study, and they have identified 3 mega trends. One is a demographic transition, the another one is about the frontier technologies, and the third one is about the climate and the environment. Now, there you are, exactly. So you spoke all about it. The thing is, if you look into the statistics, Pakistan also have, almost 50% of the population is like 104 million are children. Now, out of those 104 million children, 26.2 million children are out of school. And these are 13.7 million are girls. Now, this is where, you know, like, and when it comes to child marriage, Pakistan ranks 6. Almost 19 million girls are already married. So, you know, like, I mean, you have this cycle of poverty that will continue if we will not break right then, now and there. The thing is, almost 50% of children under 5 are acutely malnourished. And
Stunted growth.
And 12 million are, you know, like, stunted, 4 million are wasted. So, I mean, when it comes to access to clean drinking water, so, you know, like, these are the basic necessities that the children are not enjoying. So, if a child is really opening his or her eye in somewhere in the rural area versus the child living in somewhere in the developed world, what rights are we talking about? When we are talking about the rights that are universal, that are non-negotiable, that are non-deniable, undeniable. So, you like, every child has a similar right, but why some children are left behind? So, that's where UNICEF is primarily working with the government of Pakistan. So, in order to address all those issues, and as I mentioned, the demographic transition, when it comes to, you know, like, the population, by 2050 there will be 2.3 billion children. But when it comes to the mass, you know, the critical mass, it has 4 countries. I mean, Pakistan, India, Nigeria, and 1 more country. So, we have to really invest right now in the children of the future and listen to them.
So, how should we do it?
The thing is, are we really engaging with them when it comes to the policy making, when it comes to the programming? Are we really engaging and amplifying their voices? So, what happened is that this time, you know, like, even the last time we did it, but this time the children wrote the letters to the adults.
Wow.
And that's where, you know, like, I hope the screen can show what letters have been written by the children, and these are.
What do they say though?
Let me just say, one of the letters that really moved me is from Musa, who is 17 years, and he is, you know, like, into the autism. And he said, please, you know, like, although I am not normal, people consider me not normal. This is the one on the left side.
My nephew, by the way, and he's been on our show.
Oh my goodness. So, this is where he said that, please, you know, like, I mean, consider me normal, help me to grow, help me to be really fit in this world. So, you know, like, there are so many other children with disability, children with the rural area. So, how, I mean, they can really, you know, like, be engaged in the policy making, in the programming that we are doing.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
And thank you so much for saying that. And we also need to make sure that children's voices are heard, listened, felt, and also seen in a way that we do not consider them as immature words, because there's something very wise and deep that sometimes comes from the children. So, make sure that you're tuned into that. But once again, thank you so much for coming here. And with that, we are ending up our program. Until next time, it's goodbye. Allah Hafiz.
Good morning. Have a good day.